Alright, good day. We're going to be looking today at how to make some titles using Adobe Illustrator and then importing them into Adobe Premiere. So first off, I'm going to choose New, and I'm going to use a preset for my new document. And the preset I'm going to use is, of course, from the video and film choices. There we go. NTSC DV widescreen will work pretty good. These are all sort of varying in size. D1 widescreen, they're all sort of in the same neighborhood. And in the end, you can size them up once you bring them in. So at this stage, it's not going to matter a whole bunch exactly what size it is, because you can adjust it once you get there. Now you see this checkerboard here. The checkerboard is indicating that we have transparency on our screen. So we want the transparency because we want to display this over the top of video. I'm going to pretend like we're making a video called, what did we do yesterday? We did Sleepers Awake. So world famous zombie movie. Not really, but now as I'm typing this, I'm probably misspelling it because I can't see it very good. So I'm going to enlarge the text by going to my character window. The character, sometimes I forget where it is. The character window is right here. The first thing I want to do is I want to choose a larger font so I can see it. Now if I want to see, it was so small I misspelled it. So I go back in there and I add the S, I'm good to go. Let me select the text again. And what I want to do next is use type and font. This list will allow me to see what the font looks like, whereas if I do it through the character window, I'm not going to see that. I can center this. I can adjust its color. One thing that's nice about Illustrator is I can also use the align panel to center this, which is harder to do or more difficult to find in Photoshop. So I'm aligned to artboard, centered here, centered there. Now what I want to do next is I want to be able to add some effects to create some thematics. I'm also going to space this out a little bit. Let me center that again. 1, 2, there we go. And I'm going to add some spacing to my letters because I'm going to have some effects that are going to make this tougher to look at or read. So as always, legibility is first and foremost, and I want to be able to add some, the zombie film. I want to, I'll change the color to a deep color red, which is kind of gory if you're thinking about it. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create some basic shapes and designs. So what I can do is if I take, let's just take a rectangle tool, and if I make a rectangle, one thing that's a drag about that checkerboard background is it's hard to see. So I'm going to make, a series of different rectangles that I'm going to size up differently. So I'm going to try different lengths and widths, and I want to work this out. So I've got a few different things to work from, and if I choose all those pieces, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use an effect called Distort and Transform. There's a whole set of these in here. If I choose Roughen and I click the preview button, it's going to show me sort of how that's looking. So I'm going to reduce the detail, and by reducing the detail you can see that the number of aberrations or anomalies in the shape is reduced. And the size, I can make the size big. I can also make it smooth or cornered. I'm going to go with smooth on this because I want it to be like gory dripping blood. Sort of gross, sorry if that freaks you out. And click OK. So now I've made these sort of like this. Let me zoom in on this using my magnifying tool. Okay, so there I can see I've got these shapes. They're pretty close, but the computer still thinks they're rectangles. So if you look, you can see the rectangular shape. So to make those more editable, I'm now going to choose Object, Expand Appearance. Alright, so now I want to make these look droopy. Let me take these 2 points here and I'm going to change them to rounded. And that worked pretty good. Oops. I probably ought to lock that text layer. Not a bad idea to stick that in a different layer entirely, but it's right here right now. So I'm going to drip that down. Now you can see it's dripping backwards. I just like that corner better. And I'm going to take all these points and make them all rounded. Now because I like the top end of this better, I'm going to actually flip it over. So holding down the shift key and rotating it. Okay, so now I've got, actually, take all these pieces, change all the, got to do this with the white arrow tool, which is the sub-selection, and change all these points to rounded. You can only do a couple of them at a time. So my eventual goal will be to get nice, easy rounded shapes. Now I need a lot more than these few, but what I can do is take these few and sort of duplicate them by alt dragging. Now that's way huge. Okay, so if I drip that down like this, notice I've got another one, so I can take this again, and I alt dragged it, and as I size it up or size it down, I can make it look like I've actually got more different styles of them than I actually have. So I'll drag these into place, alt drag, size them down. I'm using the black arrow tool, which is the selection tool. Officially, that's what it's called. And as you can see, without too much work, I've created some kind of nifty, gory, bloody, horrible titles. Yes. Okay, so if you're into horror flicks, oops, you know what I forgot to do on that one? I forgot to alt drag it, so I left not a copy behind. So when you alt drag, you're actually able to make it look like you did a lot more work than you did, you know, because you can take pieces and make it look like more. We still want to make the letters legible. We don't want to lose legibility. So I'm alt dragging, and I can flip these over if I want to. I can spin them around. I want to recognize gravity, so they need to come straight down, and I can look at them afterwards. And let's move over a little bit here. So I got the W. I'm going to alt drag that over there, and now I've got some kind of cool looking graphics. Now you can use this for things besides video titles, but that's what we're working on right now. So what else could you do with this? You could do this for book titles or comics, or you know, things that aren't even related to text, and then you'd have something finished relatively quickly. I mean, this is not a difficult process, and you don't have to do, you don't want to overdo it. Like, you wouldn't want to put it on every single letter necessarily, and you wouldn't want them all to be the same, right? You want to have some variety. So that's why I made 4 different ones to start with, and then adjust them as we go so they all look like they're different. Okay, so let me take a couple more, and then when I'm done, I'm going to delete my original pieces. And then of course we need to set this up to send into Premiere. If I want to, I could of course open this up in Photoshop and add some further effects to it to make it look shiny and stuff. So I'm pretty happy with the look of this. I like the way it looks. What I do want to do is open up my layers panel. I want to go back down and find my text and unlock it and unlock everything else. And I can just kind of do that one fell swoop by dragging through the locks. Because what I want to do is take the text, and I want to make sure that it's always, right now it's recognized as text. We want to recognize it as outlines. And then what we want to do is take all that stuff and glue it together, sort of. So if I do that, select everything, and then I'm going to use the, gosh, where is it? It's not the transform panel, it's the Pathfinder. Pathfinder, it's in the window menu. And I take the Pathfinder panel, and I'm going to use this one here, which is Unite. So now that's all one piece. So when I bring it into Premiere or Photoshop, let's take a stop at Photoshop. So to adjust this in Photoshop, I'm going to choose Save As. And I'm just going to save this for now in my Documents folder in this year's work. And I've actually got a folder for this project, which is my title test. So here's this. I'm going to call this Sleepers Title. There we go. So I want to then open this up in Photoshop. So as I'm saving, it's going to ask me what version to save as. Then I'm going to go open. Now I can open this in Photoshop, and I'll show you how that goes. So here's Photoshop, and if I go File, Open, and I need to go find the, oh, here it is. So I'm going to choose the Sleepers Title, and that's going to give me this window here. and it just wants to know crop to, it wants to crop it, and we're going to choose media box to go to the original size, and it's giving me some other dimensions. If I simply pay attention to the pixel dimensions, that'll work. I'm going to just click OK, and it should open it. Here we go. If I double click the hand, it'll zoom out or fit it in the window. What I want to try is using my layer panel. Sometimes this gets a little bit convoluted and I lose my windows. Let's come back to Essentials. That didn't work. Here's my layer panel. Layer panel, yes. At the bottom there's this little FX, and the FX has a bunch of choices, and if I click, for example, satin on this, you can see some new shapes showed up on there. And I'm going to use the adjustments on this to change the color that shows up there in satin to like a white, because what I'm trying to get is sort of a shine on it. And the blend mode tells us how it's going to show up on there, so I'm going to click OK. You know what, I can also add some other things on there. It doesn't really look like I did too much, so let's add a drop shadow. If I click on the drop shadow first, you can see it showing up back there, and I can make the opacity different. I can change the angle that it shows up at. I want to change the distance, and that'll help it be a little more creepy. How much spread it has or size is going to determine, you know, those are actually different. They seem like they're the same, and I'd be hard pressed to explain the differences. Let's try bevel and emboss, and you can see that just gives a little bit more of a angle, and there's choices on here. It's just inner bevel. Let's try pillow emboss, and that gives it I don't really like that too much. You know what you do on this is just try stuff until you like what you see. And again, two things that are important with this thing is it has to be legible and it needs to support the theme of the film. And again, this is my little make-believe zombie film called Sleepers Awake. I couldn't really tell you what happens in it. It was a good idea based on a song I heard back in the 80s. Maybe it was late 70s, I forget. What else could I do? Inner shadow, outer glow, all these cool things that I can do. The inner shadow, I can actually pick a different color for that inner shadow. So if I change that, you can see it sort of glows inside of itself. Now, I've got this. What I want to do is File, Save As, and this is going to save it now as a Photoshop document. And Adobe loves its own products. So what we can do is open this directly, import it directly into, import the Photoshop document directly into Adobe Premiere. So here's my Premiere window, and first I'm going to go find I'm going to import some video. And last time we did this, I found some video from the footage from the semester. So if I just open this up and grab some video, here we go. And I'm going to drag the video into place because that's my clip I'm going to work with. I'm going to zoom in on this. And now I'm going to import my titles. So to import that piece, some people think you need to export it as a video piece. You can import graphics directly. So that's back here in my year folder. I've got a folder we were already at called Title Test. And I'm looking for Sleepers Title 1 PSD because I saved it as a Photoshop document. I want to merge all layers because I'm not going to take it apart. And it should have all the effects in place. And if I drag it into place, let's see if that worked. And it totally did, but wow, it's too huge. So maybe I go back to Premiere, to Photoshop,